A very good evening to you. My name is Lily and this is She. You're watching Family TV. Thank you so much for your company. As always, we are talking about women's issues, and tonight we will be talking about the great topic, the great big elephant in the room. It's the mother and daughter-in-law relationship. And with me, I've got three amazing guests. To my distant right, I have Regina Kemboy. She's a wife, she's a mom of 2 boys, and she's an administrator at a university. You're also a biker, a blogger, and a YouTuber. Karibu sana.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for coming. And to my immediate right, I've got Rachel Wamboy. She is in my favorite color, which is purple. You are the MD of Blue World Professionals. You're also a content creator on YouTube, and you're a mom of 1. And you've got a story for us regarding this topic.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Thank
and
you,
to my immediate left is a lady I admire so much, Elder Jackie Kiaraho. You are in so many women's groups. So introducing someone who is so accomplished is always tough, but you are a women empowerment leader. I think that would encapsulate everything.
That will do for now, and thank you for having me.
Welcome. I'm just going to dive right in and say congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You are a mother-in-law for 1 month now.
Yes.
How is it going for you?
It's excellent, and let me tell you, I think it's such a joy for me because I had always expected it to be a difficult journey because this is, I have my firstborn son is the one who's just gotten married. Yeah. And so we had heard of so many tales of what happens with in-laws and daughters-in-laws and sons-in-law, and I'm really glad you called us today. Yeah. And so when they got married, I've been waiting to see where the jitters started, but we are thankful that so far so good, and we are trusting God that He'll take us through this journey in an amicable relationship with the new bride that we have just acquired.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well done. That's refreshing to hear, because sometimes it starts out difficult right from the word go. I think for you, Regina, how was it? How was the beginning for you? Was it rosy like that?
I can't say it was really rosy because I'm married into a different culture and community. And by then, especially because of politics, there's a bit of tension. And my husband being the first in his family to actually marry outside, it was not very good because there's a bit of rejection, unfortunately. So at some point, we even had to halt the wedding plans so that we could actually be able to bond with the other side of the family. My mother-in-law had no problem, but unfortunately, the influence came from more like the aunties and the father-in-law, who unfortunately have not been able to meet to date. And let me tell you, there's a time I couldn't even speak to my fiancé then because I felt like, okay, you guys don't want me. So what use am I to get married into a community that does not like me? And my mom back then was also very skeptical of letting go of me because she was like, why would you want to go to a place where they don't like you? So I'd rather keep my daughter to myself. Yeah. So let me tell you, it was not easy. Okay. Yes.
Wow. I'll come back to you and you'll tell us how the journey has been. You're 9 years in marriage, so it's sort of working, So I'll come back to you and you can tell us more about that. I want to go to Rachel. Rachel Wamboy, what's your experience like in the mother-daughter-in-law, relationship?
I think my experience was quite interesting in the sense my mom-in-law was very, very present. And for obvious reasons, she came in to a place of giving me a hand, especially when I gave birth and things like that. But I think the issue of boundaries was really never managed a lot. But now that I'm older, I also get where she was coming from. Okay. It's very hard for us as mothers to detach ourselves from our children. So as much as she was coming in as help, sometimes it would infringe so much that her influence is felt so much in the home, which was very uncomfortable to begin with. Okay. Yes.
Is there something you did or didn't do that you would do differently now, or you would advise someone in that situation to do differently now?
I think right now, first I have more understanding for her. Before it was very annoying. I get where she was coming from first.
Okay.
But the way I'd handle it differently today, I think I'd let the husband deal with it instead of me, because it's the son, you know.
Yeah.
So remember, he's also in a place of conflict. These are two very special women in my life.
Yeah.
So I'd let him handle it by me expressing my views towards him in a very, you know, understanding way, then letting him handle it. Yeah.
Okay. I'll come back to you. Elder Jackie, you've been married for 29 years. And you had the experience of a mother-in-law for a longer time than us. How did it start? I'm really looking to see, do all of them start the way yours has started and then they go wrong, or you know, how was it for you?
Okay, this is a very interesting question, because it is a question that is disturbing a huge percentage of homes. And even before I go to my own experience, I'd like to take you a little back and tell you that I think some of these tensions start way before even the lady gets married, because there are issues that affect this oncoming relationship. For example, where she's from. Regina just talked about the community she came from was different from where she was getting married. That sometimes affects the basis of a marriage. Her history, her background, maybe she had a boyfriend that they know about. Or maybe she had issues that they have heard about. So it affects relationships that are starting to be formed. And then dowry negotiations. Sometimes a lot of bad blood starts from that point, where we are being asked for more things than we think we should give, or your people are treating our people badly, or you people are from a different class than us. So issues start way before the actual marriage. So that by the time this girl now gets married, she's starting off at a point of disadvantage, because there are preconceived things that have affected her new marriage. And then when she comes in, every woman who gets married wants acceptance. You're trying to look good into your in-laws. You're trying to impress your mom-in-law. Now, already your own, the mother who you're coming to find, your mother-in-law, has already got an opinion about you. Maybe you don't even know. Now, and then you're trying to impress her. And then she also starts to understand the power that she wields. In my own life, this is what I concluded. Women are territorial.
Yes.
You know that?
That's
so
true.
If you look at Mother Hen, if you want her to finish you, try to touch a chick, because she's territorial. If you want a leopard or a lion to eat you instantly, go near her cub. Because women, our mothers, we are territorial. So here is your mother-in-law, has her territory. She has her husband and her children, which include your husband. But now you have started your own territory. Now there's that territory, then there's this territory. And that is what Rachel here was saying. Now when you start that territory, your husband is now caught in between how many territories? 2. Because
Russia and Ukraine.
Russia and Ukraine. Because he belongs to that territory, and his mother has made it very clear that he belongs to that territory. And then you have gotten married and said, wow, this man is mine. He's mine fully. After all, the pastor told me, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined into me. So he's mine. So now the territorial wars begin. It was not different for me. My husband happened to be his mother's favorite because he was the last born.
Yes.
So here comes this young, very naive girl who is in love and who has been told she's loved, and she started her home. But then she had forgotten that there's an element of her mother who must be factored in somewhere in this equation somehow. Now we often forget to factor our mothers somewhere, because you think you're a nuclear family, it is you and your husband and the children that are going to come. But usually it doesn't start like that. It's not as rosy as I had painted it earlier. So what happens is that now there's tensions, because your mother is trying to remind you, this is how he likes his mokimo done. This is how, you know,
this is how we
this is how we do it over here, you know, and this is etc. etc. And you're trying to assert yourself. You're like, Kapana, even if the mukimo is done like that, me, I'd like my
There's a new
cooking.
style.
There's a new style.
And we have to try it out.
Yes, correct. And then the other time your mother will come and say, a woman who is married, her skirt must be knee length. But you know your husband likes mini skirts. So you're donning your short skirts, and there's tension because she's thinking, this girl who came here does not respect me. That's how everybody interprets it. And so these fights continue on and on and on. The two women must exercise wisdom. I like what she said, and I really picked it because it's very, very clear what Rachel said. She said, a woman needs space, using different words. When you get married, you need time to play with your husband, to get to know each other, to go on dates, to walk around the house even without clothes, because you're newly married. Now what happens if your mom is always there?
You can't.
You lose a very big element of that freedom. So you don't get to play enough. And for me, this is a challenge to all moms-in-law, including myself. Please, when your daughter gets married, leave them for at least a year, surely. When she gives birth, you don't have to go there every day to cook uji. Let this girl stumble through life on herself. So that's what I would like to say. Let her stumble on her own.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Wow, I need to go to Rachel, because I know your relationship eventually disintegrated, but it's important for you to probably tell us, because I know someone is watching and will benefit from what you understood. At which point do you feel that the relationship disintegrated? But I won't let you answer that now. She will answer that after the break.
Tomorrow on Historia, Tamaduni na Sanaa. Think green, act green. A proactive approach to environmental conservation.
We advocate for adoption of renewable energy.
Also part of the show.
As an artist who grew up in Mukuru slum, I try to show the positivity of the slum levity.
That's on Hitasa, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on Family TV.
Welcome back to She. Today we are talking about the elephant in the room, mother-daughter-in-law relations. What an important conversation. We were on Rachel, and you were just, I was hoping that you can just shed some light on some of the issues you feel may have pushed you to the disintegration of the whole institution of marriage.
I think there's so many things, but by and large, this is what my understanding was. Or rather it is till now. Any marriage must have two people who are extremely willing. Remember, a relationship is two hearts humbling each other, you know, in a commitment to pursuing the betterment of this. So just like any other home, two people must be willing to work on this and be committed towards growing the relationship. I think that is by and large what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess when we go now to Regina, your story started out very rough, but it's worked out for 9 years. And I love the fact that, you know, I think you're both on the same page, whereby the man has a big role to play. How would you say that your husband, you know, handled that conflict, that intercultural conflict very well, and it helped the marriage to work?
I would say that first of all, he actually protected me because he did not take sides. And I think he made us understand my place as his wife to be and the mom's place. So there was no competition in between. And he also talked to his mom to get to know me better so that she would understand I was more than the tribe I was coming from. And let me say, I also got opportunities to bond with my mother-in-law more. For example, when I was working back in the NGO world, I got an opportunity to do some field work in Cabernet where she lives. So instead of a hotel, I just called her up and I'm like, hey, I'm around for 2 days. Do you think it's okay for you to host me? And that's where it started from. Another thing that also helped my husband was he got to tell me more about their mother. So this is how my mom is, this is what she likes, this is what she doesn't like. And especially when you talk about boundaries, I'm reminded over time, very recently, that she visited and I wanted to do hot pants. This is my house. And you can imagine the way it's been hot.
Yes.
So I asked him, would this be okay if I was to wear this around mom? And he was like, no, I don't think that is proper. Part of me is like, this this is my house. I can't wear anything I want. But the respect bit is, how long is she here anyway? How can I still continue to honor her? So I compromised. I did a shorter, respectable dress, yes. That was not too bad.
Yeah.
But, it ended up well. So my husband really helped me to understand the mom. And at the same time, he would paint me in a very good picture.
Wow.
Towards the mom. I can't really say the same for the aunties because we rarely bond, but we are now very good friends. And also, you know, like my mom will stay 2 days and she'll be like, you've been too quiet, you haven't called me. But now for his mom, there are times we won't talk for so long, but he'd be like, have you called mom of late? So even just coming in to remind me to do some things. And it's not that there's any ill intention that I'm not calling them mom. It's just that it's not natural. Because there are really no stories that we can really talk about. But also just him coming through and advising me, this is what mom likes. And also when it comes to finances, I'm actually the one to send financial support to the mother.
Wow.
Yes, not him.
That's a nice trick.
So even if the mom will call him for, hey, I need this and this, he'll be like, let me talk to Regina, and then now we'll get back. So that she sees that it's actually a team. So boundaries are kept in terms of, yes, I am still your son and this is my wife, so let's just avoid any conflict that comes in between.
I love that.
And yes, as we speak, my boys are actually home alone with her, and she's loving it. I mean, we've gotten her to that point where, yeah, you can have my kids, let them go and have fun over at you, please.
Wow.
Yes.
When I come back to you, I'm going to ask you about dad-in-law. I know it's not about dads-in-law, but I think that's also something, a mountain you've had to climb. But let me go back to Elder Jackie. The issue of kids, I feel, is where mothers-in-law probably struggle most in terms of boundaries, because there's this, I don't know if it's a very big genetic pull between the mom and the grandchild, especially if it's a daughter who is named after her.
Yes.
I'll call you again and then you get her.
My daughter, my granddaughter, my grandson, yes.
But I know you've experienced it also from a daughter-in-law's perspective. Can you demystify that for us as briefly as possible?
Okay, there are various ways of looking at that question, because sometimes I think that our parents sometimes want to live their lives through us. So something I never did, or I missed to do, or I could not have done, I want now to do it through my child or my grandchild. So, because I have seen it with my own mother, not even my mother, my own mother. She will try to impact my children and do things with them that perhaps she forgot to do with us, or she didn't do with us, I don't know.
Or maybe she did and she liked it, and she wants to replicate.
Something, so I've seen that happening generational-wise. But now the question of the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law in relationship with the children, remember there's that pre-existent tension that is already there. So no matter what mom-in-law says, you're taking it with a pinch of salt. Even if she says something that is generally okay. For example, if the children are jumping in the mud, I'll use that as an example. There's a pond of mud and the children are jumping in and out. And so you're telling the children, get out, you're going to get muddy. And then she says, no, let them experience how mud feels like. You see that? Both of you could be correct, but because you already have the preconceived thing that she controls me and my children, there's tension. So for me, I went through that, where a lot of, my mother would try to make decisions, my mother-in-law would try to make decisions for the children, and I would feel like she's taking away the power from me. And guess what? Sometimes the children even like her more than they like you. So again, now you're even angrier because she's getting away with it. So but as time went on, I think for me, God loves me in this sense. He began giving me his wisdom, and I began understanding that this lady, even if we are in competition, she has something that I need to tap into. Let me tell you, there's a lot of wisdom these ladies have, a lot of ideas, a lot of experiences, a lot of guidance that they have, which if we allow them, it is to our benefit. But if we close them and through the story, you know, I was reading an article yesterday where a lady has said she has locked the communication with her mom-in-law, doesn't want to see her, doesn't want to hear her, and she's closed that story. And that side of her life has been blocked off. It can get to that point. But I think, and I mentioned this earlier, I think with God's guidance, if you ask for God's wisdom, there's something called reaching out. And then if you humble yourself, as you have done now, and if you're kind and nice and just generally not taking things too seriously, I think there reaches a point where the two of you become amicable. And I have also learned something from my mother-in-law also, that if you want to be close to your son, be close to your daughter-in-law first. And it worked because I think she pulled me to her, and I saw my husband also tagging along. Because you see, but if she had only pulled him, I would have stayed up separate. So some of these things are dynamics that people need to think about. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I love that. Thank you so much. Let me come to you, Rachel. What is some of the work that you've done in terms of empowering women who are struggling with their mothers-in-law?
All right. First of all, I've loved what you said, Jackie, the art of humility. There's no relationship that is built with pride. You have to come to a place where you accept this is your mother-in-law. There's nowhere she's going, by the way. You know, you're in it. If you're, so long as you're together with your husband, there'll always be the issue of a mother-in-law. And what also helped me was when I looked at this man and I saw his heart towards the mother, it reminded me of my own mom. This is my mom. This is the mom, like it is for my mom. So it made me appreciate that fact that no matter what, this is the mother, the way I am a mother to my children, the way I have a mom. So it made it easier. And genuinely from her heart, whatever she's doing, she means well. If it's with the children, her heart means well. It may not come out well, but her heart is in the right place. The other thing is that you must cultivate a relationship with your in-laws independent of your husband. Just like you have a relationship with your husband, you must put in the work. You remember when you're saying, you know, call her, you know, keep tabs with her, send her money.
Of that? What's the benefit?
First of all, I will tell you, it makes it easier for your husband. There's nothing as hard as a man coming home and knowing my wife and my mother are not on the same page. There's a conflict. You make it easier for him to know, I don't need to choose between my mom and my wife. That's the hardest thing for a man.
But it gives him peace.
Exactly. But also it doesn't negate the fact that he also has a role to play. I loved what your husband is doing. You know, clearly showing where the line is for my wife and for my husband, because for my wife and for my mother. So he's a stand or go between. He's one who can sit down with mom and say, you know what, mom, chill a bit here, you're like, you know, or to the wife, don't wear that, mama is around, don't wear a hot pot. So he plays a very vital role. But on the other end also, to know where the lines reach. You know, this is like you were saying, territorial, this is my home. Can I make my mokimo the way I love it? It's okay. I don't negate the fact that you cook well, but can I do my thing, even if it's not as good as yours? Because there's nothing as bad as comparing yourself. You lose yourself. You know, trying to cook, imagine trying to cook like there is someone else is cooking. You're like, hey, do they put nyanya here or do they? It's so much
and
work.
Then I feel like it will be so bad if you go through that whole effort and this man still is not appreciative, or this mother is still not appreciative. Then you feel like, why did I bother?
Maybe he hated his mom's
Exactly. And maybe he loved you because you're different, you know. So knowing that he loved you when you're different makes it all the difference. So be confident in who you are, not arrogant, not proud, but be confident in who you are. So if she says, I'd like, you know, this is the way you cook. It's like, this is the way I've been cooking. Maybe you can teach me, but this is the way I do it. So you've not really been arrogant or rude, just being safe and confident in your space. Yeah.
Okay, let me go to Regina, and I really wanted to hear from you in terms of, most people don't talk about dads-in-law because, but they have a big influence. I don't know why we don't talk about them so much. Maybe it's just us naturally being territorial, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it hasn't been very smooth for you. You've never met him.
Yeah. Oh, let me just also paint the picture.
Okay.
They separated a while back, but
okay.
And he has another family.
Okay.
But he always kept. My husband actually would update him of even the wedding plans and everything. So at first he asked, "What tribe is she from?" And when he had Kikuyu, that was it. Like
he checked out.
Checked out, kabisa. We even sent him the wedding invitation, and we would honor him in every step. Even at the birth of our children, we'd actually text him and say, "Hey, you're a grandfather." And my dad passed on in 2012. So he is the only grandfather that these kids are. And I recently lost an uncle who was a father figure. So basically, my sons don't have a grandfather.
Yeah.
So he would have been the best person to actually come into the picture. I have never talked to him. I have never met him. Attempts for my husband to actually reach out to him, like, please come meet her, or then come meet the boys, because they didn't choose which family to be born into. And let me also just say, he almost influenced my mother-in-law. In the Kalenjin community, the paternal side actually has a say whether or not you have been separated. So when he did not accept me, my mom-in-law was like, hey, if your dad is not accepting this relationship, then I don't think it's okay to go with this. So at some point she had actually backed off. The only thing that helped her turn around was after my father's death. And she came around and said, wow, okay, there's no father figure, then I would rather support. So I still wish I'd meet him someday. I still wish my sons would meet him someday. I still respect and honor him because he had his reasons of why maybe he's not okay with our culture, but we've never dishonored him in any way. So I am still hopeful. And at least I got healed of that rejection.
Yes.
Because that took some time.
It requires some healing.
Yes,
I like that.
it does.
What I hear you saying is acknowledge that you are not okay with that situation. You need to heal. And sometimes you just have to wait it out and see what God will do with it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was an amazing conversation. I hope we'll do like another sequel, but it was a very fruitful conversation. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can catch this and other past episodes of She on the Family Media YouTube page. And please give us your feedback on 0786316316. That's our WhatsApp line. Have a good night.